The 2022 NFL Draft is 2 years into their NFL careers, and in today's video, we will be going back and grading the back half of the first round from this draft class. I was reading some comments during one of the 2023 draft grading videos, and one of the comments suggested to start from the very back of the first round and to go from there since it is already in reverse order. I like this idea quite a bit, and in terms of the release date, we will be going from 32 to 17 today and 16 to 1 next week. We will be starting today's video with Vikings safety Scen, who was the final pick in the first round that year, and finishing with the Chargers offensive lineman Germaine Johnson. We all know why we're here, so with that preface out of the way, let's dive right in. Scen was the final pick in the first round of the 2022 draft and the first draft pick of the Quay Walker and Kevin O'Connell era. I had a lot of excitement for this pick at the time, as I thought Scen could come in and play at a solid level and learn from Harrison Smith and eventually become a good starter in the NFL. Unfortunately, Scen's career didn't play out like that, and 2 years into his career, he has a single tackle and has played 10 total defensive snaps. Not 10 games played or 10 games started, but 10 total defensive snaps. Unfortunately for Lewis, he broke his leg in a Week 4 game during his rookie year against the Saints, and all I would say regarding that play is viewer discretion is advised. There is a lot of bitterness within the Vikings fan base from this selection because Minnesota had the number 12 pick and could have drafted the Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton, and it was not a good start to the Quay era. Scen played 8 snaps against the Packers in a blowout at the end of a Week 17 game this year, and that's what you need to know about this pick, an F grade. Daxton Hill was the second to last pick in the first round, and this pick was always intended to be a developmental / future pick. The Bengals took Dax knowing Jesse Bates or Von Bell were going to sign elsewhere after the 2022 season, and that's exactly what happened. Bates went on to have a great year in Atlanta while the training wheels were taken off, as Dax Hill was now the full-time starter in the Queen City. He had over 100 tackles, 11 pass deflections, 6 tackles for a loss, 5 quarterback hits, and even had 2 interceptions. Hill is a great athlete, but being a great athlete doesn't always translate to being a great safety at the NFL level, and I think this is a prime example of that. I would love for the Bengals to transition Dax to a full-time nickel and basically play the Mike Hilton role in this defense, but I thought there were a few times he was caught out of position and it showed. I think Dax's game would translate better if he were a nickel full-time, but that's also not to say he was a terrible player this year either. He flashed at times in 2023, but I think the barrel is just getting scraped for the potential he has, a C+ grade. George Karlaftis, the Chiefs' second first-round pick, is up, and in 2 years he has 16.5 sacks and 28 quarterback hits and improved from year 1 to year 2. The Chiefs' defense has been one of the biggest reasons for their success over the past few years, and George has played a big part in that. Sure, you can make a case that his job is easier because of the presence of Chris Jones on the interior, and in theory you would be correct, but George still has to make plays, and he had his first double-digit sack season of his career this year. He has accomplished all of this before his 23rd birthday, and making the transition to the NFL level for any player in the trenches is very difficult because of how physically demanding the position is. Without George, the Chiefs probably are not a dynasty and not some little fella at quarterback wearing number 15. It's all because of George Karlaftis. Now, jokes aside, George has been a very good player for Kansas City, and I want to reserve the A+ grades for the truly special players in draft classes, but no team would scoff at what he has done so far. This is an A grade. Cole Strange, the guard from Chattanooga, was always, well, a strange pick, and while the Patriots haven't had a lot of success over the past few years, this all obviously is not on a left guard selected at the end of the first round, but this pick is kind of a microcosm of how the Patriots' first-round picks have went over the past several years. They haven't hit on many, and there's a reason they are selecting in the top 3 of the 2024 draft. I was never a fan of this pick, and Sean McVay and Les Snead even said at a point that they were targeting Strange with their first pick in the 2022 draft, which was at pick 104. If this pick worked out, nobody would question it, but Cole hasn't made a great impact in either the pass or run game in 2 years, and this pick was, well, really what everyone thought it was. One thing I do want to note about Cole is while he hasn't been a good first-round pick, there have been far worse, and it wasn't Cole's fault he was as overdrafted as he was. He also played better in the final few games in 2023 than he did at any other point in his career, which is a positive moving forward. 2024 will be a make or break year for him, but for now this is a C-. Devonte Wyatt was the second defensive tackle taken from Georgia behind the Eagles' Jordan Davis, and Wyatt stepped up in year 2. He finished the year with 36 total tackles, 11 quarterback hits, 6 tackles for a loss, and tacked on 5.5 sacks. He also added 45 pressures from the interior, which is huge, and barring injuries, he will be a starter for this team for quite a while. Obviously, when your team has a quarterback breakout like Jordan Love did, your defensive tackle having a solid year isn't going to be talked about anywhere close to as much, but 2023 was a big step in the right direction for Wyatt. He was an older prospect as he was a 24-year-old rookie, and in the age 25 season, Green Bay needed to see something out of him after playing sparingly as a rookie. One thing Wyatt will have to improve on in 2024 is his tackling, as he missed 13 tackles in 2023, and that's not going to cut it. Overall, I was impressed with the steps he took in year 2, and I think the Packers have a solid starting defensive lineman in Wyatt, a B+ grade. Devon Lloyd had an up-and-down rookie year, but improved in year 2 and finished the year with 127 total tackles and even had 2 tackles for a loss. Devon did a tremendous job in helping stop the run for the Jags in 2023, and their rushing defense finished top 10 due in large part to Devon. The one thing Lloyd critics will point to is him being a liability at times in coverage, and they will point to a big George Kittle touchdown in what was a bad game for the Jags, but guess what? Everyone struggles in one-on-one coverage against George Kittle. I was impressed with Devon's second season, and despite the Jag struggles at times throughout the year, Devon more than did his job, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's a Pro Bowler next year. Jacksonville had to trade up to get Lloyd, and 2 years later, the trade-up was more than worth it. He doesn't miss many tackles, he's great in run defense, and he finished second in the team in tackles behind Foyesade Oluokun. 2 years later, this is an A-. Germaine Johnson had a breakout year in year 2 after primarily being a rotational rusher in year 1 and even made the Pro Bowl. Heading into the 2023 season, everyone was paying attention to how Germaine would progress. Not some quarterback or anything else heading into the year for the Jets, but Germaine Johnson. And Germaine didn't disappoint as he finished the year with nearly 60 pressures, 55 total tackles, 16 quarterback hits, 11 tackles for a loss, and had 7.5 sacks. I liked this pick when it was made, as Germaine was a solid prospect entering a great situation for him to succeed, and he has. The Jets have one of the best defensive tackles in all of football in Quinnen Williams, which certainly helps Germaine, but like we said with George Karlaftis, he still has to make plays, and he did. He took the starting job this year and has no intention of giving it back. I know everyone loves getting their jokes in about the Jets and how Jets stands for just end the season, but the Jets absolutely killed the 2022 draft, and it's not pertaining to just this pick. I think Germaine will have a big year next year, and this is an A grade. Tyler Linderbaum was one of the best prospects in the 2022 draft, and 2 years later, there are teams that absolutely wish they would have taken the big fella from Iowa because he quickly became one of the best centers in the league. He improved from year 1 to year 2 and did not allow a sack in 610 pass blocking snaps in 2023. Having a good center in today's NFL is critical for a team's success, and a lot of the time, these guys are the unsung heroes of the offense, and when you have had a bad center, you know the difference and impact they make. Linderbaum will be just 24 in 2024, and the only decision the Ravens will have to make in the next few years regarding Tyler is how much money to pay him when his time for a contract extension comes. Baltimore having the success they did this year did not happen by accident, and it was due in large part to their 2022 draft class, which also featured Kyle Hamilton. I really think Linderbaum is the next great center in the league, and I think he will be a multiple-time Pro Bowler and is a future All-Pro, an A+ grade. Tyler Smith was a prospect I liked a lot in the draft process, and the big fella from Tulsa has already paid big dividends for the Cowboys just 2 years in. He was put in a very difficult situation in his rookie year as Tyron Smith was hurt, and Tyler was being asked to go from playing in the American Athletic Conference to playing left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys in the National Football League. Tyler more than held his own there, and in year 2 he kicked inside to left guard and not only made the Pro Bowl, but was also a second-team All-Pro. The Cowboys' 2022 draft is led by Smith and Deron Bland, and 2 years later they had a really good draft, and it started by drafting a versatile offensive lineman that, as long as he stays healthy, he will probably be starting for this team for close to a decade. With COVID years, draft prospects were seemingly 21 or 24 going on 25 with little in between, and Tyler was a 21-year-old rookie and will be just 23 during his third season. He is a very good offensive lineman and earns the rare A+ grade. Kyer Elum was the Bills' first-round pick, and I liked this pick a lot when it was made, as I thought Kyer was a big corner who did a very good job at mirroring receivers, and thought he could be a 4 or 5 year starter for Buffalo and make a big play with the season on the line. Unfortunately, that hasn't been how his career has played out through 2 years, and through 2 years he has played in just 16 total games, and I know the initial thought may be injury, but Kyer was a healthy scratch at times throughout the 2023 season. A healthy scratch. Elum was forced to make 2 starts this year against the Jags and Giants and played a considerable amount against the Steelers in the playoff game and even managed to pull down an interception. I am disappointed with this pick 2 years later because the Bills were a very injury-filled team in 2023, and if the Bills coaching staff had any sort of confidence in Kyer, well, he would have played. But he didn't aside from 2 regular season games. Due to him being a healthy scratch countless times, meaning the Bills would rather go with anybody than him, I think there's only one option for this grade, and that's in F. Quay Walker notched his second straight 100 tackle season in 2023 and also tacked on 7 tackles for a loss, 2.5 sacks, and Packers fans definitely enjoyed this. A pick 6 against the Bears. Quay had some mental mistakes in year 1, which included multiple ejections, and he improved in year 2 as he cut down on missed tackles, and actually had the 2 single highest games in Packers history for tackles, as he had a 17 tackle game against the Falcons and a 19 tackle game against the Lions. The one negative about Quay that I think will improve in his 3rd year is him in coverage, as I think the defense will improve really by default now that Joe Barry isn't the defensive coordinator. Walker matured from year 1 to year 2, he played better, he missed less tackles, and the only thing to improve on moving forward is coverage. There were certainly times Packers fans were frustrated with Quay during his rookie year, but I think things are looking up. A B+ grade. Trent McDuffy was a great prospect coming out of Washington, and I thought he was a top 15 player, and Kansas City traded up to get him at pick 21. He is a 2-time Super Bowl champion and was named a first-team All-Pro in 2023. He had an elite second season as he had 80 total tackles, 9 quarterback hits from the corner position, 7 pass deflections, 5 forced fumbles, and even tacked on 3 sacks. There are a lot of great players on the Chiefs defense, and Trent is certainly one of them, and he had a tremendous pass deflection in the Super Bowl win over the Niners. Trent's 2023 season was a combination of a great player being fully maximized within a great system that is also maximized by one of the best defensive coordinators the league has in Steve Spagnuolo. When everything comes together like this is the type of year that's possible. The pick the Chiefs used to go up and get McDuffy was from the Tyreek trade, and if you ask Kansas City if they would do it again, they would without hesitation. He has 0 career interceptions, so we are going to bump him down to an A, and I am completely kidding as this is an A+ grade. Kenny Pickett is a very tough pick to grade because there's a lot of external factors that are out of Kenny's control. His offensive coordinator for most of the time he's been a pro was, well, atrocious. But you can't blame the entirety of Kenny's struggles on Matt Canada and chalk it up to that and just say, oh, he had a tough draw, but he will still be a superstar. It's not Matt Canada's fault Kenny finished 28th in completion percentage in 2023, ahead of only Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Bryce Young, and Will Levis. It's not Matt Canada's fault Kenny had just 13 career passing touchdowns on 713 passing attempts. The flashes on the game-winning drives have been there for Kenny, but the Steelers are in a lot of rumors at the quarterback position, and that's never good. I liked Kenny a lot heading into his 2nd season, but I thought he was pretty disappointing in 2023. Can he still rebound? Well, I think he can become a serviceable quarterback, but I don't think the Steelers found their heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger by any stretch of the imagination. A D+ grade. Trevor Penning was the Saints' second pick of the night as Chris Olave went at number 11 overall, and after starting only one game as a rookie, which was in Week 18 by the way, the pressure was on Penning entering his second year. The Saints were hoping they nailed both their receiver of the future and their left tackle of the future in one draft, but Penning has been far from a hit. He was a massive liability when he played and was benched during his second season. There were times when I was watching the Saints early in 2023 and couldn't help but notice how woeful the left tackle play at times was. He allowed 10 pressures in the first 72 pass blocking snaps of the season, and that's what you need to know from this pick. He has 6 starts in 2 years, and I wasn't a big fan of Penning as a prospect because I thought there were a lot of red flags with him coming out, and that's what it's been through 2 years. He also had quite a few penalties called on him in 2023, and this is an F. Traon Burks was the 18th overall pick, and meeting the expectations of this pick were always going to be difficult because this was the A.J. Brown replacement pick. The expectations were always going to be incredibly lofty, and in 2 years he has just 84 targets and has just 49 receptions for 665 yards and 1 touchdown. He had a big 70-yard reception against the Chargers in Week 2 of the 2023 season, and a 51-yard reception in a win over the Packers in Lambeau in his rookie year, and those 2 receptions went for 121 yards, which account for 18% of his career yards. The Titans have finished bottom 5 in points per game in both years since he was drafted, and it's not fair to place the blame entirely on Traon, but he hasn't worked out either, and that is more than fair to say. The 2022 Titans receiving room was awful, and 2023 was a little bit better due to having DeAndre Hopkins, but if he was ever going to break out, we would have already seen it, and he hasn't. 660 yards and 1 touchdown in 2 years as a top 20 pick is terrible, and this is an F grade. Zion Johnson has started 32 of the possible 34 games in 2 years for the Chargers, and while he hasn't been a great player by any means, he's far from a bust or a disappointment like we've seen from other players in this class. There's an old adage regarding the draft that a third of first-round picks are stars, a third are average, and a third are disappointments or draft busts. I certainly don't think Zion is a draft bust, but he's not a star either. He's a steady Eddie at the position, and the positive spin on this is he's only 24, and he can still have a breakout year in his 3rd season. He benched over 30 reps during his pre-draft process, so it's not like he doesn't have the strength to play at the NFL level. Sometimes it takes guys in the trenches a few years to adjust, and there were games this year where Rashawn Slater and Zion looked like a good left tackle and left guard duo. This was also Zion's first year as a left guard in the NFL, as he played right guard as a rookie. He was a left guard at Boston College, and I think 2024 will be a breakout year for him. For now, though, this is a C+ grade. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like and subscribe, as only about 33% of people watching are subscribed, and it helps the channel tremendously. Until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.